Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Monica. I'm a tarot reader and astrologer based in the Whitsundays in Australia, and today I'm looking at the importance of asking the right question when doing a tarot reading. I personally believe this should be taught before you even learn the meanings of the cards. I think it's such an important topic in tarot, and I want to expand on that a bit and I guess offer my opinion, but also my experience, learning the hard way when I haven't asked the right question. So this video is a bit of a fusion of two blog posts that I wrote quite a number of years back, and I wanted to combine them in a visual medium and talk about this. Now, if you've been in my channel for a while, you will know that I don't shy away from divinatory type questions or readings in tarot. In fact, I did a video, and I'll link that in the description box below. It was titled something like, "Is divination a dirty word?" It's a bit of a separate topic, but essentially I talk about, empowering versus disempowering readings. And I don't see divination as a dirty word. I think it's seen that way in the tarot community for a number of reasons. Again, I'm not going to get into that in this video because I've talked about it in the past. But I don't have an issue with divinatory readings or asking yes or no questions. But I don't think that they are the right question to ask in many readings. So let me give you my personal example of this. Learned the hard way, okay? So, as usual, cup of tea is mandatory. That was still pretty hot. So in around, I think it was around 2008 or thereabouts, I had been into tarot for a year or so. So I didn't have a lot of experience. It was very much a beginner. And I think I write in my blog post, being a Sagittarius, it matters not that I don't have the experience to do something. I'm just going to charge ahead and do it anyway and, put my head against walls. I had been in a unfulfilling job for, I would say, a couple of years by that stage. I'd stayed in a job that I should have left long before. And I wanted out, but the thing at that time was that the job that I had provided certain financial comforts. It wasn't like a top paid job or anything like that, but it was still not a bad paying gig. And I therefore was looking at other roles in the kind of the similar job market and the similar kind of roles, and not really thinking about the implications, about the fact of, I really needed to change trajectory completely, not just a little bit. So this job came up anyway. This job came up, and it was more of a senior role, and the title of the role implied that it had an environmental focus to it as well. And so I got out my deck and I asked, will I get this job if I apply for it? And I got a really strong reading, positive. So I went ahead and I applied and I got the job. I talk in my blog post about the role and how terrible it was for me. I remember my therapist at the time said that I jumped from the frying pan into the fire. He knew the organization. He had some understanding of it from a colleague. Not that all of the organization was like that. There are people, because it was a very large organization, there were parts of it that were functioning and parts of it that weren't functioning, which if you know large organizations, you will know what I'm talking about. But anyway, the part that I was in certainly wasn't working for me. And so I struggled with that initially. I had to stay in it because I had a mortgage on this little unit that I had bought. Again, so not the right move for me. It was the worst thing I could have done. But basically meant I couldn't just walk out straight away. But walk out I did 3 weeks later. As soon as I sold my place, I just didn't care. 3 weeks later, I handed in my notice. And I hadn't looked back since. It was the best decision I ever made. I'm just sad that it carried so much guilt on my behalf about quitting, and it shouldn't have. Absolutely shouldn't have. That's a different story. Back to the subject at hand. Did I get the job? Yes. Was it the right job for me? No. Oh goodness, when I think back about that time, I mean, I was right in the middle of my Saturn return too, so the experience was there for a very important reason, of course, but I had to learn that the very, very hard way. So the issue with asking, is this, or will I get the job, yes or no, or is he or she the one, or will this relationship be successful? You know, there are quite a few. Well, there are a few issues surrounding these questions, but the main thing is that they don't give you context and they don't give you a full and clear picture of the situation. And there are many other things to consider before you get to those questions. If you get to those questions, whether you should or shouldn't. And again, I say that as someone who does practice divinatory readings, and I don't have an issue with it. So I've got some questions here when it comes to work and career and applying for jobs that I think might help you, or it might help give you more context and a clearer picture of a role or a job. So I've got them written down, so I'm going to go through them. By the way, this is not a complete or exhaustive list. This just gives you an idea of how much more there is to a reading that gives you a holistic understanding of, a particular topic or issue that you're interested in. What opportunities will this role bring? What challenges will this position bring? What do I need to do to make this job work for me? What will my relationship with my boss be like? I think, honestly, if you've had the fortune of having an amazing manager and the unlucky misfortune of having a terrible one, you will know that having the latter, I mean, it will absolutely ruin your experience of working for a company, and every day will become like a dreaded nightmare. And really, there is no way out other than to quit, in my experience, or, maybe work some magic to see that person out of your way. How will I get along with my coworkers? That's equally important. I've been in organizations where like one person just makes it really difficult and unbearable for everyone else, and that's just I think that's an important question. What would be the outcome of me taking this job? What do I have to offer this role, or what do I have to offer the organization? Will I be able to advance in this role? Are there opportunities for promotion or leadership? Or what opportunities there are for promotion and leadership. If you don't want to ask, are there, as in a yes or no question, you can ask what opportunities are there for promotion and leadership, if that's something that you're interested in. How stressful will this position be? What do I need to know about applying for this job? And you can do with these questions, you can do like a 1 card or a 3 card reading for each of these. For some, I prefer 1 card, and for others, 3 cards. It really depends on the question. How capable am I of doing this job? I think that one's really, really important. Is this position in line with my own values and ethics? What compromises will I need to make if I work in this role? How suitable is this job for me? So that could also be framed as, is this the right job for me? I think if you draw, 3 cards on that last question, more often than not, you will get a good answer, a reasonable answer that, points to either yay or nay. So, and again, that's only like a fraction of the questions that you could ask. Yeah. If you have any of the bigger books on tarot spreads, I don't, and I'd be curious to see what spreads they have on jobs and career and things like that. You might get some other ideas from those, I would say. But that's just kind of like an introduction. Now, the other subject that tarot readers, when it comes to predictive readings, often get asked about is relationships, love and relationships. Now, a part of that, not all of it, but a part of that will form a separate video for me at a later stage when I would like to talk about, I believe it's called limerence. I'm not gonna get into it, but people, it's interesting. I say people, but it seems to be that it is mostly, vast majority women, get into a, for lack of a better word, kind of like an obsession about someone that is not available to them, and they continue to go back for the same question. Will this person contact me? Will they be the one? Will they, and while that particular situation requires, I believe, a therapeutical work from a qualified therapist, I don't think a tarot reader is the best person to do those kind of readings or to accept those kind of readings. They seem to be very popular on, tarot hotlines and things like that, which is, I've been told, and it's part of the reason why I've been put off doing tarot hotlines. But anyhow, so when it comes to relationships, there are also some really good questions you might wish to consider asking, aside from doing a yes or a no spread or type reading where you are asking, is he or she the one? Will this relationship be, the one successful relationship that I want in my life, or something along those lines? And again, I have done a blog post on this, and I've listed some of these questions, or all of them. I'm going to read them out on that post. I'll link that in the description box below if you're interested. It gives me, the blog post gives a bigger context to where I'm coming from. But some of the questions that I've suggested are, what does this person need from me, he or she? What does he or she want from me? Wants and needs are quite different. If you're in an existing relationship, you can go a step further and ask, what does he or she need or want from me that I am not offering, or that I am not able to offer? What do I need from a relationship? What does he or she think of me? What are his or her feelings for me? How do we emotionally relate, or mentally? How sexually compatible are we? What does he or she hope for in this relationship? What are his or her fears in this relationship? What is our relationship based on? That's a nice 3-card reading, that one. I really like to do that one. How do we communicate? You know, and you can pull 1 card for each person on their communication style, for example, and then you can do a card in the middle about how you will communicate as a couple, or 3 cards in the middle. What are my strengths or weaknesses in this relationship? So you can do 2 separate questions there, 1 for strengths, 1 for weaknesses. How does he or she deal with conflict? Again, I would say that for people, you know, where you are repeating a pattern in relationships, I think a experienced, qualified, and ethical therapist is invaluable. Yeah, I'll just leave that there. So, yeah, how does he or she deal with conflict? What do we need to do in order to overcome this issue or obstacle? If you have a particular issue that you're trying to overcome, what am I not able to see clearly about our relationship? Or what am I not able to see clearly about my partner? What are his or her intentions for our relationship? What do I need to do in order to make this relationship work? The last one being a far better question to ask, rather than, you know, is he the one or is she the one? And I think, again, I understand that there is a fated element very often to relationships. And while I do believe in the idea of soulmates, which is people that you meet along several lifetimes, it's not what most people think it is, in my opinion, and in my experience. It's not like you meet a soulmate and they are the one and everything works out incredibly well and there are no problems. None of you have personal issues. You know, that is, I mean, I think that I actually need to do a separate video just on soulmates and in tarot work alone. But what I'm trying to say is that very often when you meet soulmates, it can be to resolve things that you weren't able to resolve in past lives. And sometimes that is for the better, and sometimes it's not for the better. So, you know, others might disagree with me. Of course, it's based on personal experience as well. So, and everyone has a different personal experience. So, but I just think a lot of people see the idea of soulmates through an illusion and ask the wrong questions of readers because of that. So anyhow, quite a tricky topic to talk about, and perhaps a contradicting one, because I do say I do predictive readings, I do divination and tarot as a reader. I will not shy away from that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that per se. I think that the context within which you do it matters, and you got to be very careful. You know, are you giving the client or are you giving yourself an empowering reading or a disempowering one as well? But I thought, from my own personal experience, sharing, asking that question about getting a job and getting such a positive answer and going into it completely blind as to what the job really was like, and then quitting something like 3 weeks later, I think that experience holds merit and it's worth sharing out there with the tarot community. I don't know if you've had, has anyone else had a similar experience? I can laugh about it now, but gee, at the time, I mean, it was complete and utter chaos in my life, and it was not a pleasant experience at all for me. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this, and as always, thank you so much if you're still watching this to the end. Thank you for supporting my channel, and thank you for watching, and until my next video, take care.